welcome back to the Click and Mortar podcast. Mike and Dustin with you here again. Thanks for joining us. This week we wanted to go over a case study and review what we do with our clients via a case study. So we're going to jump in to some data and share some screens and really walk you all through what we do on clients to optimize and to improve performance. So I am going to share a screen and I'm going to have Dustin walk us through some of this with the lead in that this is one of our current clients. Our goal with this client, as with most clients, is to increase lead volume while bringing down the cost of leads. So dual purpose on the most general level. We're trying to optimize their spend so they get more qualified leads and they get them for cheaper. So obviously a goal for everybody and what we try to do for everyone, and a success story with them here, because as Dustin will walk you through and show you, there's a lot of success here and a lot of movement that we've had here. So we wanted to go over the general things that you need to keep your eyes on and that we do when we're optimizing for lead volume and to get that lead cost down. So Dustin, I'm going to kick it to you, keeping this client in mind for what we did with them and also focusing on the general things we do to optimize campaigns and spend.
Yeah, so the top two graphs are really what correlate to our end goal, which are leads. And so we have the impressions and clicks by month, and that's a pulse on, are we spending the budget and are we getting more clicks and more traffic out of that budget? Over on the right is more of the qualitative metrics, really click-through rate and the cost per click. So click-through rate, is our message resonating? Are we hitting the right audiences? And if it gets stronger, typically our cost per clicks will go down. And then we're looking at cost per lead over to the right. This is by month, and a big focus is generally we want to start driving volume, which our cost per lead has gone down. And around October, November, we started getting more quality lead signals. And so we started to optimize towards that. What's driving quality leads, not just the cheapest leads. And so we did see cost per lead go up at the beginning of the year, but then that gets us down to the charts below. And really the one on the bottom right is the one want to focus on. The one on the left really just shows quality leads and cost per quality lead by week. But over on the right is by month. And as you can see, the green is the cost per quality lead, and it has been coming down progressively since the beginning of the year, but we really picked up some momentum, February and so on. And so once we're able to get the data, we're able to optimize a bit better and really move the needle on that North Star metric that we're aligned on.
Awesome. So can you give the folks the broad brushstrokes, and we should detail here for everyone that ad optimization, you hear this word a lot, you hear this phrase a lot, and there's art and science to optimizing all of these. This is the general trend that we're showing you, and a lot goes into this. There's intricacy that goes into optimizing your ad spend, getting in front of the right people with the right message to the right audiences, all of that. In general though, Dustin, can you give us the main buckets of where we work, what we work on, and the areas to focus on that folks should be focusing on when it comes to trying to achieve these kinds of results?
Absolutely. I like to look at marketing as a conversation. So let's look at it that. The big buckets are, who are we talking to? That's the audience. What are we saying to them? That's the creative. What action do we want them to do? That's kind of the North Star metric or KPI we want them to do. And then where are we landing them? Or what's that experience like after they take that action? And that landing pages, that could be automation. But those are the four big buckets that we look at. There's 20 to 1,000 different things within each of those buckets that we're really looking on, prospecting, retargeting, and the list goes on. But those are the four big buckets that we're looking at a couple times a week.
Can you give us in those buckets? So let's talk about audience first. And by the way, folks, we have other podcasts on these areas, and we're not going to necessarily fully deep dive, or maybe an example with this client of in the audience arena, how we fine-tuned the audience and who we're going after so that we can achieve these results?
Early on, we're relying on platform audiences. So what can LinkedIn and Google and Meta provide? And as we're getting leads and we're able to identify quality leads, we're able to get that contact information and then build lookalike audiences or retargeting audiences based off of the flow. So that's a good example of just what are the different data sources in which we're getting the audiences to even target. And progressively, as we get more leads, more data, we're going to be getting more first party data rather than third party or platform data.
Perfect. And then an example of, okay, we get better data on the audience. Let's match that audience that we know is performant at this time with a message that is more towards them. I'm putting words in your mouth, but for the folks out at home, I'm assuming that now that we know the audience that we're honing in on and we're getting performance from, we want messaging creative that actually speaks to them and their problems so that our click-through rates are better, our response rates are better, our lead cost is lower, right?
Yep. So we're always looking at ads, we're A/B testing, but as we hone in on different audiences that start performing well, there'll be ebbs and flows in performance, but as we identify an audience that performs well, it might be C-suite, it might be associate, whatever it is, then we start looking at what are we saying to them, and now we get deeper on the creative. Let's do more testing, let's produce maybe video for them, but as we identify and key in on particular audiences, then it's how can we communicate with them more effectively, and that's where the ideas and more testing comes in.
Perfect. And lastly, is there anything in the lead capturing landing page, that bucket, that you would like to highlight? And I think it's also kind of like creative, a little bit obvious in that land people where and with a message that they want to hear, but anything on top of that on that last piece of the puzzle?
Honestly, this is where most of the art and science comes from, because there are so many different ways that we can start conversations. And there could be messages, we could get lead ads on the platform, we can drive to landing pages, video views. There's so many different things that we could do. And really the art and science comes into figuring out and marrying the sales process of that organization. Some people love phone calls where another doesn't, and that could be in the same industry. So there's a lot of testing that goes on, and what you might be built for now doesn't mean that you should only do that. And a good example is messages are cheap, but if you have no one looking at messages, that could be an opportunity cost. So let's figure out how to get more eyes on that. How can we automate it? So yes, always be testing to how can we get cheaper and more effective conversations started.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. As I said at the beginning, a lot of complexity, and we wanted to keep it top line and simple at the beginning, but show you that these component pieces that go into optimizing ad spend, as we've worked it, and I should qualify that we've been working with this client for over a year, right? So there's been a progression to getting this client to this place. But these pieces and this optimization, and if you focus on these buckets and you give it time, you're going to see these kinds of results. You're going to see getting in front of the right audiences with the right message, putting them and landing them somewhere where they want to respond and give you their information. That all of these pieces together, complex puzzle, but the goal is to obviously drive more leads that are more qualified at lower cost. And we've seen success at doing this with a number of different clients. So if that seems interesting to you and you're watching this and want to reach out and speak with us and see how we can help you as well with this effort, please do. You can schedule a meeting on our site at eic.agency. We'd love to chat with you. Dustin, anything before we go that you wanted to end with?
Always be testing, and it never ends. That's it. So just always be testing and try to get better results. So
ABT, always be testing, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you found this helpful. And like we said, reach out if it makes sense through our site at eic.agency. And we'll see you soon.